Sound check. Well, looks like my bald spot's growing. Yeah. Good evening. How's everybody? How's the audio and the video? Michael Thomas, hello. Aaron, glad to have you in here tonight. K-Woo. Uh, I guess while we're waiting for things to get started, 5x5, thanks, Aaron. K-Woo asked me, he said that he's near the BWI airport. That's Baltimore airport there. And he wanted to know what brought me to the area. Well, in a past life, I was the IT manager for a large international engineering company. And I used to have to travel about 80% of the time, and we had an office in Baltimore. Julie, great. I am glad you're here. I do have a comment that the dark sooty material that is around your AC vents is probably road dust. I used to get that in my shower all the time. I discovered that the shower had separated from the wall, and the road dust was leaking up in behind the shower walls and getting dust up inside my shower, and it was dark black stuff. So that's probably what the black part is, the black stuff is. Okay, great to have you in. Hi, Ron. Yeah, I imagine it's hot. I thought you were headed north. Actually, today was the day last year that I left Tucson and headed north myself. It was getting hot then too. I've got something over here that's blocking my view. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, I bet it's hot. Let's see here. Joe Silvers from Zephyr Hills. That's funny. Zephyr Hills, Florida. Hi, Joe. Nice to have you in. Timothy, great to have you back tonight. How's your slide out working? Larry McBride. Hey, Larry. Yeah, I saw it's raining. Actually, I did chat with my dad earlier today, and I happened to see on the Weather Channel that it's been raining. It rained here this weekend. We got about 2/3 of an inch, which, well, is a fair amount for us. You know, everybody else, it's probably just that's just a sprinkle. But we did get a fair amount this weekend. Still waiting for your motorhome repair. Okay, yeah. Well, that's probably a good reason to still be in Arizona. Michael Thomas. Well, Michael, you don't have to worry about overwhelming the conversation or dominating at all. Everybody is welcome here, and we will ask your question, or we'll answer your questions the best we can. And yeah, don't worry about dominating the chat. That's not a problem at all. I do have a couple things prepared. So while we're still waiting for some folks to come in, then I will just kick around here for a second. Give me one moment here. Another quick story. I don't know if you can see it, but I think it's probably about right there. Not right there. That's just a beauty mark. I was using a cutoff wheel this day before Friday, I guess it was, last Friday, on a 4.5-inch grinder, and it let go on me and blew up in my face. Fortunately, I was wearing safety glasses, hat. When you're grinding metal, I always end up wearing a long sleeve shirt and stuff like that. But I got a bit of the grinding disc stuck in my cheek, and it's finally, I think, to the point where maybe I can start to work on it. But it's bled the last couple nights. I guess I probably rubbed the scab off, but I can kind of feel it there. There's a big knot, and probably a piece of that grinding disc in my face. Roundtown Scouter, hi from Central Ohio. Hello. Great to have you aboard. Following since April. Awesome. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. Michael, I'm going to wait for you to type in a question. I'm going to run over here. Oh, looks like you just did. But I will get to you in just one moment. I want to pop over here to this source real quick and share this comment with you. Right here from Musical Freestyles by Leslie. This was a comment that was left on last week's live stream. I'm in deep trouble, they tell me. Had my roof repaired by a family-owned trailer manufacturing LQ installation company. Of course, I asked whether they checked their work before I came to pick it up. Well, it looks like that was never done. And my LQ floor is water-soaked. The OSB board is mush, and it all needs to be ripped out. My trusted repair place does not work on floors. I kind of found that interesting that LQ installation company does roof, but they didn't want to work on the floors. She goes on to say, I can rip it out, but what type of vendor do you recommend I try? It's not a large area at all, but the base cabinet, fridge, shower may have to come out. I'm pretty upset about this because I paid a lot of money. Well, my answer probably wasn't what she wanted to hear, but there's a reason why a lot of RV repair shops don't work on floors. And that's because the way they build these RVs is they get the frame, whether it being a rolling chassis or a towable fifth wheel or travel trailer. They get the frame, and the first thing that goes down is the floor. And then everything else gets built on top of that. So replacing the floor literally means they have to take the body of the vehicle, basically loose from the frame, lift it up so they can get to the floor and replace it. And that is a beep ton of work. So anyway, I didn't have good news for her, but I guess she wrote back and said this is why she wants to rip it out herself. But she didn't know the walls was built on top of it. So there's probably ways to fix that without having to get underneath the wall, provided the particle board, whatever it is, OSB, isn't spongy. But if it's spongy under the wall, it might be totaled. I suggested that she contact her insurance company and see if perhaps her RV might be covered for water damage. So I hope to hear back. Leslie is a regular viewer and commenter, so I hope to hear back from her, and I asked her to let us know how it turned out for her. Okay, so back over to the questions. Jason Mills. Okay, so he's got an F-250 with a truck camper towing 34-foot travel trailer with weight distribution hitch. Had to pull over every time a big rig passes. It is pushing me off the road. Any tips? Yeah. You're probably overloaded and you're probably floating when you go down the road. In other words, the front of that F-250 might be floating up. I have an F-250. As a matter of fact, I haven't told everybody yet, but I did get an F-250 personally just to haul stuff. I don't believe that's going to be my permanent pickup. For those of you that follow the channel, I'm going to get a pickup with a slide-in camper of some sort. But I did get an F-250, and if memory serves, the rear of that is 3,800 pounds. Let's knock off, say, 500 pounds for the box and another 250, 300 for the frame. So that's about 2,400. I suspect that you're overloaded and that you're floating when you go down the road, and that's going to make the steering really light. Okay, if you have your pickup overloaded or any vehicle overloaded, it's sitting down and then the front comes up and it gets really light on the front wheels. And so yeah, when a semi passes you, it might blow you right off the road if you're not careful. Your options are to get some airbags and use some airbags on the back of that Ford. So when you're towing, you can pump that up a little bit, get a little bit more suspension underneath there, and get that front end down. You might also look at getting larger sway bars for the front end. On the Ford, they have the A-frame front end underneath them, unless it's a four-wheel drive. But you can get larger sway bars, and you can get stiffer bushings. Those are the sorry, just one second here. It's springtime in Idaho, and it's allergy season, and I'm full of junk. Okay, thank you. Anyway, you can get stiffer bushings and put a sway bar on the front. That might help a little bit. But I suspect that you're a little overloaded if you have a slide-in camper and you're towing. So I would watch your weight. Actually, what you probably should do is you probably ought to go over to the nearest truck stop and roll across the cat scale and see what your weight is. And then check your owner's manual, because in the owner's manual it'll tell you, the maximum weight you can have on the rear axle. But even with a weight distribution hitch and the slide-in camper, I bet you're a little bit heavy on the rear end. And the only way to find that out would be to go to the cat scale, spend your $15, and get a weight ticket, and that'll tell you about where you're at. Hopefully that helps, Jason. Thank you. Michael Thomas. Okay, he has a 92 Country Star, Newmar. Great. It needs a lot of work. First, what is the best type of roof? I live in Orlando, Florida. I have a rotten, leaking roof, and it needs to be replaced. Well, Aaron is a little step ahead of me there, because I do have a whole series of videos on replacing the roof on my Newmar Dutch Star, 40-foot Class A. I used EDPM from Rec Pro, not sponsored. I used Dicor exclusively for the adhesive and then all the lap sealant. And those are the things that I would recommend without any hesitation whatsoever. Out of pocket on mine, I think I was around $850 in materials. I did it totally myself, and it took me 6 days to do the roof. But I also had a lot of black mold, and so you want to be prepared for that, because if it's, I'm assuming, Michael, it's probably spongy, and you say it's leaking. So you're going to need insulation too, so plan for that, replacing your insulation. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward process. Basic carpentry skills are all you need, and that should get you going. But yeah, there's a whole series of videos, and I saw Aaron post the link. Aaron is the man. So that should help you out quite a bit. Step-by-step videos on, basically from removing the equipment to replacing the roof and putting everything back on. So Camp Goer 1, hi Linda, welcome in, and great to have you. Sue Kelly, as always, love to have you here. Michael has a question here. I use Dicor exclusively and a Turnabond, but I've heard PVC is going to last longer. I don't think so. TPO is popular, but I used EDPM, and that is what's used, almost ubiquitously on RVs, EDPM, and so I wouldn't hesitate to use that at all. PVC, Fords, Chevys, Newmars, Winnebagos. Everybody has their opinion, but if it was me, and it was me because that's what I used, was EDPM, and so I would stick with that. And the Eternabond tape, I've got some tips on getting that off because it is a pain. If you get it on the metal parts around, thank you, Aaron, for the heads up. If you get it on the metal parts, I found the best way to take it off was to take like a 4-inch putty knife and a propane torch, and heat that knife up and use it to scrape that EDPM off the metal cowling that wraps up around those. EDPM is rubber. It's about 12 mils thick, maybe 15. Knocking on 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch thick rubber. That is white on one side, gray on the other, and it is UV resistant. Okay, so come back to Joe's question that I missed. Followed all my comments about black water tank cleaning, but still have very slow movement unless the tank is filled up to the toilet neck. Any other thoughts I can try? Yeah, I suspect, Joe, that it's just really, really, really badly crudted up. And so what I would do is you just need to soak that tank. When I say soak it, what I would like to suggest you do is after you come back from your next camping trip, or if hopefully the RV's at your house, that makes it so much easier. Go out and fill that tank clear full of fresh water. Add 1 cup of Borax soap, 1 cup of Dawn dish soap. Then fill the tank. Yes, it's going to foam. It won't last long, so just kind of watch it as you're filling that tank. But fill that tank as full as you can get it, and then let it set. Then, before you go on your next trip, after you get everything loaded up, run over to the dump station, dump your tanks, and then go out and go camping. You may have to do that 2 or 3 times. Now, as an alternative, I don't know where you live, but you might research this. There are companies in certain areas. I know when I was in Las Vegas 2 falls ago, the fellow next to me had his tanks power washed. There was a guy that came out. This is all he did was flush out really bad RV holding tanks. And it was like a pressure washer. It was kind of like the Roto-Rooter guy that has the high pressure jet widget. And he just had this special fitting. He went out and he put it onto the drain, and he just ran that up in there, and he flushed and flushed and flushed and flushed. And I watched. And there was a lot of stuff that came out. So you could actually potentially find somebody that will come and flush it out for you. But if you can't find that, then just soak it. Soak, soak, soak. It might take 3 or 4 tries, 3 or 4 times of cycling through the soak. But eventually that stuff will loosen up and wash out. But I suspect that's what it is. You probably have a lot of poo and paper accumulated in the tank. Also, take it on the road flush. If you remember from the video, the road flush is you fill the tank a third. In your case, I'm going to say a half full. And again, I want to double up on the Borax and on the Dawn, and then go out and drive around for 30 minutes on a nice twisty, windy road and get that thing moving and shaking and sloshing that water around in that tank. That'll help it. The other thing you can try, and this works very well, get yourself some coarse salt. That Morton's coarse kosher salt works good. Water softener salt, not the pellets, not the the round pellets, but the old rock salt works really well. Take about a good amount of that. The kosher salt. That's hard to say. The kosher salt I would use about a half a box. Rock salt I would use a good 2 to 4 cups, and then throw a 20-pound bag of ice in that tank and add about 5 gallons of water. It doesn't have to be exactly 5, just get some water in there and then go for that ride. The ice and the salt are going to super scrub that tank. That will help break up this accumulated junk, poo and paper, that's stuck on the floors and on the walls, and eventually it will flush out, but it's going to take some time. You just have to be patient. So there's a couple 3 tips. Soak, soak, soak. Find somebody that can come and pressure wash that tank, or do what I call the road scrub, but use ice and salt. And those things are all really effective at really super cleaning and getting all of this hard poo up off the bottom and off the walls of the tank. Okay, so going to move down the list here. I hope that helps. Let me know on that, Joe. But I'm pretty sure you're going to find that's what you need to do. EDPM. Okay, so EDPM is going away. Well, I guess my research is a little dated. Now, it was 2018 when I did mine, and I looked at TPO, but PVC, I don't remember PVC really being all that popular at all at that time. But TPO is really good stuff. The PVC, I can't say, but my EDPM roof, I haven't noticed any kind of RV degradation on it at all. And I've been on a number of EDPM roofs on RVs, and I've never really noticed provided they were maintained. You know, you get up there annually and scrub it off and keep it cleaned off. Sorry, it is uh, allergy season and I'm full of junk. Um, Low maintenance roof because I'm not going to be able to get up there much. Yep. So I wouldn't hesitate to go TPO. I looked into it. I don't have any firsthand experience with PVC, so I'm hesitant to say yes or no on it. But TPO, I wouldn't have any qualms about at all. And then again, once a year, all you have to do is just get up there and wash it off. Just some, light, mild soap and water. Dawn dish soap is my favorite. Okay, like a sheeting or tape. It's a rolled. It's rolled. It's a rolled rubber. Camp Goer one. EDPM is a rolled rubber. EDPM is applied with an adhesive, like a rubber adhesive. I have a video on my channel. If you check episode 3 of my replacing the roof, I believe it's episode 3 that I finally actually get the roof rolled out and glued down. Camp Goer. Okay, Michael Thomas. EDPM is a type of rubber sheeting, and the roof's RV has been used pretty much exclusively up till recently. But you do have to maintain it rather frequently, at least twice a year. Yeah, I think that really depends on where you're at, Michael. Well, out here in the dry west, I wouldn't worry so much about maintaining it. Down there in Florida, I believe you were in Florida, or any kind of a humid climate where you get a lot of mold and mildew, yeah, it's probably a good idea to get up there and clean it a couple times a year. But on my RV, well, I would only really get up there and scrub it once a year. When I say scrub it, I just take a regular mop, a kitchen mop, a bucket with some soapy water, and I just get up there and wash it. Now they make special wash stuff, for your roof that costs $15 for a quart, and you can do it for 69 cents or probably 10 cents worth of Dawn dish soap. But that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. Just kidding. Okay, yep. Aaron's answering the question. Leo Coleman, evening. Hi, Leo. Nice to have you here. Great. If you have a question, we might play Stump TR tonight. Michael Thomas is, let me clarify, EDPM is not being used as much in the manufacturing process. It is still very prevalent in the RVing world, but I've been told TPO and PVC is preferred. Now, I don't know. Well, I'm going to look into that because that is curious. I have not heard. I'm going to reach out to Larry and Aaron, who are both crusty old guys like me. Cab 4200. I will come back to you. Sorry, I just saw your comment. Have you guys heard anything about the changeover to TPO? I'm going to take a pause there and go back to a comment I missed. Cab 4200, welcome aboard. You are a new viewer, and we love having you here. Is it common for pipes to bounce out of the tanks? I just had one come out of the top of my black tank. Wow. That is a little unusual. It's those are ABS pipes. Okay, that's the same pipe that they use for sewer pipe in your house, and they're glued in. And I suppose it could happen. I mean, if you're rolling down the road, you got to keep in mind that an RV is like a rolling earthquake. So things are rocking and rolling, and things are moving and flexing, and those sorts of things. And I suppose it's possible that the glue, the adhesive around that pipe, failed. But boy, you would be, I would be surprised. But no, it is not common. I would say it is not common for the pipe to disconnect, the dump pipe to disconnect from the black holding tank. Wow, that's going to be a pain to fix. Wow, bummer. No pun intended. Okay. Thanks for posting that roof episode, Larry. Or, I mean, Aaron. Larry says, could I use EDPM over a metal roof? Mine has a metal roof on it. I don't think so. It is typically has a plywood underlayment, Larry. I think your best bet on metal would be to go with the Henry's Tropicool or the Bright Tech. Those are both roll-on, and uh, CNS Schooley, I can't remember their whole channel, but CNS Schooley, they did the Tropicool on their bus conversion that they're doing. They're doing a Schooley conversion right now, and he's usually in here, but I don't expect everybody to be here every night. That's craziness. But they have a video on that over on their channel. But yeah, I would think that you would probably use a roll-on on a metal roof and just get it super clean and wipe it down extremely well. And that stuff is pretty effective at sealing up roofs. Okay, Campgoer 1, Linda, my little Toyota has a bit of a sagging roof soft in the midsection in front of the AC. Yeah, you were talking about that AC leaking last week, and so I suspect you probably have a leak. I suspect that it is leaking around the gasket or the seal underneath the AC. It's gotten into the plywood, and there's only one way to fix that, and that's to remove that and replace it. I don't know how effective it is to try to patch an RV roof. I wouldn't think it would be such a good idea, but if you're on a limited budget, that might be an option to just take that small section out that's rotten. But yeah, I don't know how effective just doing a patch would be. I think you're going to want to make sure that you have a good seal. Um, you know, so that you don't end up with a leak again. And I don't know that those seams, maybe if you rubber cemented them and then put some Eternabond tape over the seam, you might be okay for a budget type fix. Yeah, Aaron, I agree with you, Aaron. I think the Tropicool, Henry's Tropicool, would be a good effective solution, and it's also really not that expensive. The most expensive part of my roof replacement was the rubber membrane, the EDPM, and I believe it was right around 400. Michael Thomas, next question is about AC. I have two 13,500s on the roof, both original, and one is completely broken, and the other one needs a control. You think it might be possible to ditch both for a 15K? Do you mean one 15K or two 15Ks, Michael? First off, I have a video on my channel about replacing capacitor in one of my 13,500 BTU Dometic AC units. It's actually very easy to do, and it's usually fairly obvious when they blow. So you might look into, changing out the capacitors first before you call them dead. But if you've had them looked at and a technician says they're dead, yeah, you can replace them with 15Ks as long as they fit. As long as I wouldn't worry about weight or anything like that, especially on the difference in weight between a 13.5 and a 15K can't be that much. But I would be more interested in, if the holes match up, because the roof is cut, and then the AC is, goes into either a duct or it blows directly into the RV. So, oh, okay, ditch both for a 15K. Let's see. Come back to you, Cab. I thought I saw Michael. He has two dual therm 13.5s, was hoping to get away with just one 15,000. Well, you're going from 27,000 BTUs, which is just a little bit over a ton. A ton of air conditioning is 24,000 BTUs, to about 15,000. So, you're getting barely half plus change. As long as you're not in a really hot climate or a really humid climate, you could probably get by with that. But yeah, I think you might be stretching it with 115K if you're ever any place where it's warm and hot and humid. You probably would be running behind the 8 ball, if you will, the cooling curve. Let's call it that. Okay, cab 4200. It seems like a rubber grommet on the tank that it slips into. And that could be possible. Was there like a hose clamp on that cab? Is there like a big 4 or 5 inch hose clamp on that was holding it in there? Um, okay, we'll come back to your answer in a minute. Caveman Fitness. What's my opinion on travel trailer batteries? Best bang for the buck, all around use, longevity, value, etc. Caveman, I resisted getting lithiums because of the price for a long time. And when I got lithium batteries, it changed my life. They're expensive, but keep in mind, if you have two 200 amp hour batteries in your RV, lead acid, that really means you have 100 amp hours usable. Because remember, 200 amp hours usable. Remember, you can only use half of the usable rating of an RV battery, or any battery for that matter. So like if you have like a GC2 golf cart battery like I used to have, and I had 4 of those in there, which gave me 400 amp hours, but I really only had 200 amp hours of usable power. However, when I went with 4 lithiums, I went from that restriction of not being able to use all of the capacity of the battery. And so now I have 400 amp hours of usable power, and it really did change my life. So I would recommend lithium. I personally bought the Battleborns. There are other battery companies out there now making what seem to be very reliable lithium batteries. I don't have any firsthand experience, and one of the things that I always tend to lean towards is when I give you advice, I'm giving you advice based on my firsthand experience, not hearsay. I try not to do it with what I read on the internet, but it's firsthand experience, and I have firsthand experience with the Battleborns, and they've been the bomb. They're great batteries, and they have a 10-year warranty. I know there are other companies out there that make batteries. I was actually approached just a couple months ago by a company in Utah. I believe it was Lion. Don't quote me on that. They have some lithium batteries they wanted me to do a review on. They wanted me to try them out and let them know what they thought. Unfortunately, I don't need them right now, but when I get to building a truck camper like I have planned, then I'm definitely going to reach out to them and get some lithiums in and stick with lithium because they were great. So I would say the Battleborns are the best, in my opinion. Yeah, they're expensive. They're around $900 a piece. Dirty little secret: if you call them up and ask them for the show discount special, they'll usually knock $100 a battery off. Also, if you're a veteran, they've got a discount program for veterans as well. So there's a couple options for you. Hope that helps. Hi, Randy. I'm glad to hear you are in. You must be out on your property. Oh, yeah, it says he's out working on his storage building. So he's out working on his property. Thanks for coming in. Michael Thomas, let me comment on the Henry. Okay, sure. Do not, Roll on, do not ever use elastomeric. It will always leak, peel, and need maintenance. If you're going to coat your roof, always use 100% silicone. Henry's makes a great product. Yeah, I believe the Bright Tech is silicone, but don't quote me on that. But that's a good point. Okay, Mr. Clay 50. My power transfer box is buzzing, and I don't think it's a normal sound. I'm new to RVing, so I don't know what is normal. Okay. Inside those power transfer boxes, there's going to be an electromagnet. And inside there's a set of relays. And so when you're on shore power, it sees that and it pulls a relay and it switches the power over from your generator, or in some cases, it might switch it over from your inverter. So that thing buzzing is, it can be normal, but it depends. If it's loud enough that you can hear it from inside the rig, I would get it looked at. If it's just you hear it buzzing like when you're back in the compartment where the power transfer switch is, I don't think it's really anything to worry about. But yeah, there's a little electromagnetic magnet in there, and it, switches these contacts back and forth. And so yeah, they can sit there and buzz because when they're over switched in one position, they'll usually be turned on, and that requires the electromagnet. Man, I'm having a hard time talking tonight. That electromagnet to stay energized. So if you can hear it inside the RV, I would get it looked at. If you can just hear it like when you have the compartment open and you're outside, I don't think you don't need to worry about anything. I think it's probably normal. You might touch touch the cover of the transfer switch and see if it's hot. If the cover of that transfer switch is hot, you need to get it looked at because that relay inside, that electromagnet inside, might be getting ready to fail. Michael Thomas, I have two dual therm 13Ks. Okay, I caught up with that one. Michael, let's see. I jumped way too far forward here. Oh, Aaron comments. Michael Thomas, I have used Tropicool on 34D boundary roof, and it has been up there for 2 years with zero problems and a lot cheaper than replacing it. Yeah, Fords, Chevys, Newmars, Winnebagos, Tiffins. Camp Girl 1. She says she has 2 gallons of that Henry's Tropicool. Better get busy. Linda, be careful that you don't do that in the heat of the day. It's best to do that in the morning, give it a chance to get set up, because I know you're down in Phoenix. And it's also better not to do it out in the sun. Hopefully you can find a shady spot where you can go and put that on. Okay, Michael Thomas comes back with his ACs. The front one blew all its Freon into the coach about 2 years ago, and I've been running on the rear 13.5 since then. The neighbor just ran over my 50 amp cord, shorted it out, and blew out my micro and AC. Ugh. I thought saw somewhere. Okay, and Michael says he lives in Orlando, is always hot and humid. I've been running on the 13.5 for 2 years because I couldn't afford another AC. It gets a little warm in the afternoon, but it's also trying to cool from the rear. Good points, both. Um, you know, so the other one's was working, but it got blown out. Interesting. Huh. I'd be talking to his insurance company. It'd be what I would be doing if he ran over your cord. But that's a drag. Yeah, I'm still thinking that a 15 would be pushing it, especially where you're down there in Orlando, where you got 95 degrees and 95% humidity sometimes. You might be pushing it, but it sounds like the 13.5 has been working. Maybe you can get by with just leaving the old 13.5 up there and forget about it, and replacing the front one with the 15, and see how it works. I mean, there's one option. Okay, cab 4200. No, it seems to come from the bath sink. Connects under the shower in the 1999 Winnebago Adventurer. Huh. Straight into the top of the tank. No clamp of any kind on it. Just sits in there. Uh, I would probably try to get in there if you can get access to it. I think I would get in there, and if it is rubber, then I would get a hose clamp, and I would just put a hose clamp on it. You don't want to over torque it, right? You don't want to rank on it, but I would hose clamp it into that grommet that goes into the top of the tank, um, and see if that helps it stay put. I've never heard of that, coming out. It's totally possible because remember, like I said, when you're rolling down the road, that RV is creaking and turning and rocking, and things are wrenching and racking around and stuff. So it's not entirely impossible for a pipe to pull out of the top of the tank. Uh, and it may also be that the pipe might not quite be long enough to stay down in there, which could cause it to maybe lift out. But yeah, I would try a hose clamp. You can go down to your favorite parts store and probably find yourself a 2.5 inch hose clamp and put on there and see if that helps hold it in there. Because you do not want to ignore water leaks. They get really expensive really quick. Okay. Yeah, well, I think, Michael, that um, I don't I don't think I don't think Bright Tech from Henry's is water soluble, and I don't think Tropicool is, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought they were both mineral spirit cleanups. But I would agree with you. But on the other hand, latex paint now, latex enamel, like you would put on the outside of your house exterior, is water based. You can't find real enamel paint unless you go to like Rust-Oleum or one of those. Everything else is all gone water based because of low VOCs, volatile organic carbons. And um, so maybe I think maybe they've got their science together and their chemistry together, so that you wouldn't have to worry about that. Got to have the window open there. It's a little storm rolling in out there. Mr. Clay says, I hear it loud in the rig. Go get it looked at, Mr. Clay. Unless you're very comfortable working with electricity. If you're not, I would take and get it looked at, because you should not be hearing it inside the rig. That tells me that the electromagnet's probably about ready to fail. You might also, like I say, go out and touch the transfer box. Do not open it, but just touch the outside of it. If it's hot, that's definitely a sign that you need to get it looked at. It will fail at the most inopportune time. Trust me. You're going to be 600 miles from home. It's going to be 900 degrees that day. You're going to want to run your AC, and it's going to fail on you, and then you're going to live without power until you get home. So be proactive and go get it looked at. Um, I believe that the best on the tropical, I don't remember, Linda. Read follow the directions on the can. I do not recall exactly um, the application instructions on that. I'm sorry. Doing it at night would be fine. I don't think that'd be a problem. Yeah, clean the roof really well. Exactly. Use TSP. Yes. Trisodium phosphate is amazing stuff. And yes, I would use it. I would not use TSP as a regular cleaner on your rubber roof, but to get it super clean so that you can coat it, yeah, TSP would be very effective. Yes, add a clamp, precisely, a hose clamp at cab 420. Yeah, okay, good call, Michael. Yeah, New Mexico and Arizona roads suck. I drove. I have a. Here's a. Do we have time for a little story? Sure, we're 7:45. 2 falls ago, I drove. I spent about 5 weeks in southern Utah, down around Bluff, Valley of the Gods, Mexican Hat, all that area down in there. It's a beautiful place in southern Utah. Was over to Four Corners and stuff. But I drove the, I think they call it the Cherokee Turnpike. It's kind of a joke because it's like, I think it's 54. Don't quote me on that. That road was the roughest road for about 70, 80 miles. I finally get down past Flag. I'm headed into Phoenix to spend the night in Phoenix. And I get going down the hill out of Flag, if you've driven I-17 over there. And I'm about 2 miles out of Camp Verde, and I blow the power steering hose. Well, it was actually the hydraulic pump hose. It had rubbed on the frame enough on that 70, 80 miles of beat up road that it rubbed a hole in my power steering line. and I ended up having to limp in and stay at Camp Verde for the night and find a local mechanic to fix it. It turned out well, but yeah, those roads are rough. I totally agree. You're very welcome, Cab. Uh, okay, I'll leave that conversation to Aaron and Camp Goer. Yeah, Aaron's a great guy. Michigan Dave. Hi, Michigan Dave. What 225 15-inch tires do you recommend running on a 2012 travel trailer? I personally would. How do I say this? And not get into, the Chevy Ford pissing match. The Michelins aren't bad, but don't chintz on those tires. I would recommend the Michelins and or the, oh geez, I just pulled a brain fart. Not Firestone. There's another one. I'll think of it in a second. But you definitely want to get a trailer rated tire. Please excuse me. There's something blowing up here. It's not important. Hate it when you get on those group texts. Sorry about that. So yeah, trailer tires. Yeah, and get trailer tires. Okay. When you go to the tire store, ask for trailer tires. You can even get them at Walmart. I had to put a tire on a tow dolly that I had many years ago. I had to get I had a spare for my dolly, but I blew a tire, and so I went to Walmart to get it. I did have to wait overnight. It did take them overnight, but I was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Yeah, you get a trailer rated tire. Okay, don't get an automotive tire. Mr. Clay, you're very welcome. A good way to keep the humidity out of the trailer. Well, go to Arizona. Come to Idaho. Stay in the West where it's nice and dry. I ended up in 2013. I spent about 6 months in Virginia, up on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I ended up having to go and I got a small dehumidifier. It was about that big, about the size of a space heater, maybe a little smaller than your old space heaters. And I just ran that. I couldn't get used to going and getting my clothes and having them damp. It was driving me crazy. I also recommend man, I'm having a hard time thinking tonight. Dry Quicks. They're these hanging devices that you can hang in your closets. That you could plug into the wall to recharge. I might be able to run that down here real quick, but it's a device that has a desiccant in it. It hangs with a desiccant in it, and you can hang it in your closet and stuff like that. Somebody help me out there. What are those things called? Quick Dry, Dry Quick. Let's see. Give me just a second here. And Eva Dry, that's what they're called. Eva Dry. They are the bomb. They work extremely well. So I would go check out the Eva Dries. If you'd like to use my Amazon store and support the channel, there's a link in the description below. And on, I think, the handy items for RV'ers page, I have the Evidries listed, and I swear by them. Also, I had, like I said, I got a small dehumidifier that ran on 110, and that seemed to work pretty good in Virginia, hot, muggy Virginia. Karen Kelly, welcome to the channel. On the roof, do you recommend removing the old leveling caulk before adding new? How to remove old if replacing? It depends, Karen. If the old caulk is very badly cracked and it's separating from the edges, what you're trying to protect, then yeah, you can remove it. It's not that difficult. In episode 2 of my roof replacement video, right at the beginning, I show you how to remove it. I used a 5-in-1 painter's tool. You want to be very careful, because you don't want to cut or scrape your roof, the rubber roof itself, or fiberglass or whatever it is. But yeah, you can use a 5-in-1 painter's tool, but you want to do it very carefully if it's badly cracked. If it's just slightly cracked or anything like that, you can just go right over it. That lap sealant will seep right into those cracks, seep into the seams, fill them back up. You should be good to go. But yeah, and I recommend the Dicor lap sealant. So it depends. How to remove it? Let's see. I think we got you covered there, Karen Kelly. Thanks for the great question. Camp Gore 1, I had coated it 5-6 years ago and eventually peeled off. Wonder if I did it too thick. No, I think that the lifespan of the Henrys is about 4 to 5 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's used it. But I think that it does, as Michael was saying, yes, the Henrys, the Tropicool, the Elastomerics do require maintenance, and they do require recoating occasionally. It depends on where you're at. Now in Arizona, that's hot, dry, very much a lot of sun. It's going to degrade it faster than it would, say, someplace where it's not quite so hot and dry. But yeah, it does require occasional replacement. Okay, let's see here. Michael Thomas, sorry, I thought the hyperlink would show up. Just searching YouTube for elastomeric versus 100 silicone roof percent. Michael, only person who can post URLs, hyperlinks, on my channel are my administrators and moderators, because I was getting so many crappy links to porn sites is what they were. And I got tired of it, so I just blocked all URLs on my channel in all the comments. They just get moderated. They'll be sitting there, and then I will go back and read them. And if it's not a porn site, then I approve it. But they get moderated automatically, as well as the top 7 cuss words. They get automatically moderated as well. Tim. Canillo? I have bearing buddies on my travel trailer. Do I need to worry about ever taking the bearings out and repacking them? No, I don't think so, unless, well, yeah, I don't think you need to, except as recommended by the manufacturer. Usually in your owner's manual, they're going to tell you to service your bearings every 2 to 3 years, every so many miles. And so it's not terribly difficult to pop those wheels off and pack those bearings. In general, I would say no, but I do know that there is a standard service interval for bearings like that. And you want to follow that, even though you have the bearing buddies on there. Michigan Dave says, would I recommend switching to 16-inch rims? Can't find Michelin trailer tires in 15-inch. Yeah, I don't think that would be a huge problem to go to 16s. Yeah, I can't imagine that would be a huge problem, except you'd have to get new rims. While I'm thinking here, where are we at? 754. Just 1 second here. I might be able to... where are you? Oh, Michigan. You're in Michigan. So you should be able to get Goodyear Endurance. That's the one I was trying to remember. Goodyear. Goodyear Endurance is a really good tire, and you should be able to get those in 15s. And those are sold at like most major, places like Tire Rack, stuff like that. So, and they're probably $100 a piece, something like that. But yeah, that was the one, Goodyear Endurance. Yep, Craig Carter. Hi, Craig. Welcome. I'm glad to have you in here. Evidry, thank you. Yes, damp rid works well. Yes, it does. Evidry, the reason I like the Evidries is that it's all self-contained. It's got a little plug-in on the back. When it starts to show that and it has an indicator in there, so if it gets pink, I think it's pink, you plug it in, and that slowly dries the desiccant back out so that's reusable, and then bing, bang, boom, you go and hang them back up or put them in your RV. The Evidries, the damp rids I've seen are like the buckets. And once those are wet, once those are damp, you have to throw them away and buy a new one. So the Evidry works great. Cindy Taylor, you're very welcome, Cindy. She says damp rid as well. So Sardry, okay. Leo, John, great to have you back. We have 2 Michiganders in here tonight. Stay dry. Okay, yeah. Yeah, very good. Can I only purchase RV products through your Amazon store or anything? You can purchase anything on Amazon. Here's how it works. If you hit my Amazon store, then you can go buy anything on Amazon, and I will receive the small commission. And this commission range is anywhere from like 0.7% to 4.5%, depending upon the product. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't go out and find the product that gives me the biggest commission. I could do that, and I know channels that do that. That's not the way I operate. Again, when I share information and advice with you guys, it is from firsthand experience. I'm not here to make $1 million. In fact, I don't even make, well, I do better now than I did, say, 2 years ago. But I don't make a lot doing this. This is more of a hobby for me, and this is not, I'm retired, so, but it's nice to have it. But yes, you hit my Amazon store and then go off and shop on Amazon for anything you'd like, and I will receive a small commission. You'll pay the same price, and you'll help us out, and we'll be grateful forever. Thank you so much, John. That's a great question. Karen Kelly, you're very welcome. Joe T. How do I get out of my RV loan if I'm underwater with value? Yikes. Well, jokingly, I don't know if I dare say this, not in public. I don't have any advice for you. It's a drag to get into a loan that you're upside down in. That is for sure. I think you're just going to have to suffer or let it go back to them. I hate to say, let it go to repo, because that's a blot on your credit record for a while. This is said tongue in cheek to be funny. How's your fire insurance? Okay, that's enough. I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. I really am. Kemp Gore asks, if there is little areas that are leaking, is it better to use Dicor or Turnabond? A Turnabond. But keep in mind, a Turnabond they don't call it a Turnabond for nothing. It is a bugger to get off. Thank you, Craig. Yes, that is correct. I do get a credit, whether it's RV related or not. Excellent. Craig, you're the man. How's Callie? Camp Gore 1, I peeled it off to get redone before the monsoons. Yeah, you got a couple months. Monsoon wasn't much last year. Henry's 887 Tropical, 100% silicone. Thank you. Dicor, okay, let's see here. Any experience with HWH jacks? Yes, I have experience with HWH jacks. I have HWH jacks on my rig, and I actually fixed the HWH jacks on my aunt and uncle's RV. They have a 2008. Maybe is it Baystar? It's a Newmar, but it had HWH, and there's a couple things that could cause that. It's most likely what's happened is that the seal inside of the jack tube itself has failed. And the only way to repair that is to replace the jack. Now, there in Orlando, there are several companies that rebuild hydraulic cylinders. Keep in mind, this is just a hydraulic cylinder. Nothing special about them, okay? Every backhoe, every front end loader, everything you've ever seen that runs on hydraulics has a hydraulic cylinder. And the seals are pretty much standard. I watch a guy, A-Bomb 79. He's a machinist. And he's there in, I think he might be in Orlando, as a matter of fact. But he repaired one of those for his mom and dad off of their RV, an HWH, as a matter of fact. But keep in mind, HWH doesn't exist anymore. It's now Lippert. And it's hit and miss as to whether or not you can buy a cylinder from them. I don't know I don't know how much inventory they bought when they bought HWH. I do know that when I replaced my aunt and uncle's control panel, it came as Lippert. It had Lippert written on it. It wasn't HWH anymore. You're welcome, Michigan Dave. You're welcome, Tim. I was in the Army in Georgia. I remember it being in Columbus, Georgia. This would have been, it was my 40th birthday. I wasn't in the Army then. But we were opening a project office in Columbia. And it was 96 degrees that day, and it was foggy. There was so much humidity in the air. Alrighty, let's see here. Ron Bunge. Any ideas on getting RV service done these days? My motorhome has been at Freightliner in Tucson for 3 weeks. Clueless. Any more warranty for RV'ers is hell on wheels. What can we do as RV'ers to get service? Yeah, I used to use Freightliner there in Tucson, but the only thing I really had them do was oil, filters. I did have them change out one hose for me, heater hose or a coolant hose. Mostly because I just didn't want to crawl around in the engine compartment and do it myself. But what are they doing for you, Ron, if I might ask? The other thing you can do is, well, and I hesitate to say this because I don't usually try to run this way. I usually try to be really patient. But after 3 weeks, I might be out of patience. What are they trying to do for you? Thanks, Joe. Is Dicor Silicone. There is a significant amount of silicone in it, but it also has some other compounds in it. Dicor, no, Dicor is not better than Henry's, and Henry's is not better than Dicor. They're both equally good. The Dicor is more expensive. I think the Henry's is just as good and will do just as good a job. Okay, so Michael Thomas comes back. The jack doesn't even try to extend. The pump will run, but it doesn't exchange tone, telling me. Okay, that tells me the seals are out of it. Because what's happening is that the oil's going in and coming out. So it's just going past those seals, and it's just going back out the return. Because remember, the return does not have pressure on it. That is just a normal, whatever pressure is coming back, comes back. So when you're, settling off those jacks, there's pressure in the cylinder that pushes the oil back to the reservoir. So that tells me the seals are gone out of it. And you can either try to get that. You can contact Lippert, see if you can buy just the one jack. Or you might find a local hydraulic cylinder company. And single line, no returns and no leaks anywhere. Yeah. Then the only other thing it could be is that there is a bank of valves that sit up on the pump that control which jack gets oil, and it could be one of those valves that's seized up. If you look down on the pump itself, you're going to see where the lines come in from the jacks, and there's a series of 4 valves. And the reason there's 4 is because that way you can adjust each corner, right? You can adjust this corner, the back 2 corners individually to level out. And so one of those valves might have failed. I'm not familiar with if those valves are individually changeable. I would hope so, because otherwise that control unit could get expensive. Now they could be plugged, right? There could be a plug in that valve, something like that. And then also, have you checked your oil level in the hydraulic pump itself? John Besnmek says he had all kinds of problems with his HWH. Finally, he replaced the solenoid valves. They were oxidized on the inside. Works great now automatically. Yeah, those valves can get corroded, especially if you end up with any moisture in your hydraulic fluid. That can cause corrosion in those systems as well. Okay, Ron. That Ron. When I say Ron Bunge, that's RL Bunge, who just said he's getting a speed sensor, new software, and now thinks he needs the ECM replaced. RV Texas, y'all, went through that last year, 2 years ago, about the same time I took the radiator out of my rig from a flying rock and a broken fan blade. And they went through that where they were having trouble and they ended up having to get their ECM replaced. And the same year, rig as yours, I believe, Ron, they just sold that rig and got a new one. But I would just call and talk to the damn shop foreman or the service manager and say, listen, you've had my rig for 3 weeks. Get the damn thing fixed. Quit dinking around, particularly if it's under warranty. I wouldn't put up with it. You can only be nice for so long, and then you kind of got to put your foot down. Okay, we're knocking on about an hour and 7 minutes here, so we're going to wrap a few things up and get ready to get out of here. But geez, we got 31 in the chat tonight. I don't know what was our peak tonight. 33. Oh, that's great. I'm so glad that everybody is enjoying this. For all of those that are sitting out there lurking, drop us a quick comment. Let us know where you're watching from. I always like to know that. I know we have a significant number of people in Canada that ask and watch and ask questions. I get emails from Canadian people all the time. Something I want to mention to my Canadian watchers. I know that Borax, 20 Mule Team Borax, is not available in Canada. I just found this out. Apparently it's been outlawed because it's been used in pesticides and people were blatant enough to try to make their own pesticides out. OxyClean also works extremely well, as does Calgon. So try those two, OxyClean or Calgon, if you can't get Borax. Now in California, you can't get the Zep Orange Cleaner. So the Simple Purple or any concentrated degreaser will work well. Okay? Okay, let's see. The HWH, mine takes ATF, and I believe it takes Mercon, but you want to make sure. But they use ATF, automatic transmission fluid. Timothy Norman just resealed his roof with the Dicor EDPM rubber roof sealant, and it turned out great. Dicor is about $25 more per gallon than Henry, but they're a little bit different. In that case. But yeah, the Dicor is, I would never say don't use Dicor, but if you're on a budget, the Henry's is very effective. Craig Carter. There's a Lippert SCOTUS Facebook page where you can post question and Lippert per present reps will give you advice, perhaps get you a spare part. Hey, that's good to know. Thanks, Craig. I didn't know that. There's a lot of stuff on Facebook that seems to blow me away. Dennis Lynn is in Indiana. Thanks, Dennis. Oswego, New York, Dan Phillips, welcome. Tacoma, Washington, Karen Kelly. Love Tacoma. Don't like I-5 south out of Seattle, though. Man, that is a nightmare up there. Aaron reminds us that if you see someone here that you don't know, you might take a moment and check out their channel. Some people have channels, some people don't. I know that, our friend Camp Gore 1 has a channel. Aaron has his channel. So go out and check out their channels. And looks like we've got a question here from Sam Allen. Hi, Sam. He's got a 2001 Dutch Star diesel pusher. That's what DSDP means, folks. That's Dutch Star talk. Freightliner 3126. That's exactly what I have. I have the 10K hitch on my 2004 Newmar Dutch Star, you could go to 10K on it easy. I don't think that would be a problem at all. And they probably just chinsed out on the hitch a little bit. So yeah, I would go and you can get a 10K hitch, no problem. And really, anybody, any hitch shop should be able to do that. You know, in fact, they're easy enough to do. You could probably buy it and put it on yourself. But if that's a little more than you want to tackle, yeah, you should be able to get that done on it at any hitch shop. So hope that helps, Sam. I love my DSDP, but it's going to be sold here soon. Yep. Okay, greetings from Oregon. Thanks, Sam. Happy to have you in here. Ron wants to see a tour of the house in an upcoming vid on all my latest house updates. Okay. I will put something together for you. Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Actually, I got to a point where when the lumber prices got to where it was $7.50 for a 2x4, I've kind of backed off and I haven't done much. I have the shed still to tear off, and I need to get some lumber for that because I got to rebuild. Pardon me, I got to rebuild this wall, and so I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I keep hoping lumber prices are going to come down, but they sure don't seem to be coming down very fast. Three-ton jack that misplaced the jack handle thing. Can I get a replacement someplace? Yeah, Linda. Really, you probably don't even need a handle. You can use a pair of pliers if it's a hydraulic, like a bottle jack. You can use a screwdriver to jack it up, and then you can use a pair of pliers to turn the little valve to release it. I missed a couple here. We have Jerry Tyrell from San Jose, and then Mr. Clay is in Helena, Arkansas. Mr. Clay, my dad is in Green Forest, Arkansas. All right, let's see here. Yes, I have made it to Michigan many times. I told this little story at the beginning. I'll tell it real quick here. I was the IT manager, IT director, IT geek, whatever you want to call it, for a large engineering company. And I traveled 70% of the time. And so I basically got everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. But yeah, I've been to Michigan. I've been there in the RV twice. I went to the Rothbury music festival up there, up on the, up by Lake, I think it's Lake Michigan, isn't it? And then I've been to Detroit more times than I could shake a stick at. And then we had an office in just south of where the University of Michigan is, Stevens Point. No, that was Wisconsin. But anyway, I've been through all of the Northwest up there in my RV and then traveling extensively for work when I worked. Love Michigan. Love to get up to the UP. That would be someplace I would really like to visit someday, is the Upper Peninsula. I understand it is amazing up there. But I loved the Rothbury area up in that area. That was really nice. But Michigan's a beautiful state. Let's see here. Well, I'm going to, normally I would shut off by now, but we're up to 30 some odd viewers, 36 or 37, so I think maybe we'll go for a little longer. If you have a question, be sure and drop a comment in the chat, and I'll try to answer it. I promise that I will run another 15 minutes, but that'll be it. We'll shut her down at 8:30 tonight. Catching up. Thank you, Sam. I love making the videos for you. I love interacting with you, and I hope you find them useful and entertaining. I really do appreciate everybody's kind comments. Dennis Lynn, planning a trip to Idaho this summer. I know a little something about Idaho. Need to watch some of your videos to help plan. Where are you going? Southern Idaho or Northern Idaho? Because I could tell you all of my super secret places, but it'll be offline. I won't do it in public. You never give away your super secret places. Gary, you're never late. What, were you napping? You must have been watching the Kardashians or something. I'm teasing Gary. Tell us again why I found a home base in Pocatello. I have tons of friends in the area. I have family scattered all over eastern Idaho. The climate suits my clothes, to knock off an old Grateful Dead song. Um, and it's the climate's nice in the summer. And this past winter, we only had snow on the ground for maybe a total of not more than 2 weeks. Now you get further north, you get up 50 miles north up to Idaho Falls. They had snow pretty much all winter. So anyway, that's mostly why. Um, I still do have plans to do expedition type travel, where I go out for 2 to 4 weeks, maybe longer in the winter to get away from the snow and the cold. Moreno Valley, California. I've been out here in Arkansas for 18 years. Yeah, my dad's been there since '96. He retired from Union Pacific Railroad after 48 plus years. Sam Allen says he's an IT and a senior systems engineer for an MSP supporting about 30,000 users between schools and government customers. Yeah, I worked for an engineering company. We did food processing package. We did power lines and substations. We did generation facilities. Our company had a couple of the world-renowned, world experts on geothermal. They were always over in Iceland and down at the geysers in California. There's a huge geothermal plant at a place called the Geysers in California. And then there's another one right up there on I-80 between Reno and probably Wells. I don't remember exactly, but there's a huge geothermal plant up there, and they spent a lot of time up there. I started out as a database administrator and ended up the IT director. Can I confirm what day and time you come on in Michigan? I'd like to document it. What day and time I come on? Well, it would always be on Tuesdays, and in Michigan, I believe that is Eastern time, so it would be 9 p.m. your time. So my normal day, always it's Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain time. Sam, I have a video on my channel. If you didn't hear us talk about that earlier, it's really not all that much work. I was dreading it too, but it's actually not that much work. I did it myself, and so it worked out pretty easy. Jason comes back. 10K equalizer, 4-point sway control. Do you think this is a better option than the distribution hitch with chains? Those equalizers, that equalizer company has a lot good going for it. So the 4-point sway control will help, but I think you still want to double check that weight and make sure you're not overweight on that rear end, and that you're not floating when you go down the road, because it doesn't distribute the weight into the truck very far. Okay, it takes weight off the tongue, but that weight, when it comes off the tongue, has to go somewhere. So they put it onto the bumper and the rear axle of that truck. Oh yeah, I-90, that's quite a ways up north for me, but I've driven a ton of time on I-90. And Helena is a beautiful place. Oh, great. Friend outside of Boise, plan to visit him. Boise is growing like a weed over there. Mr. Clay retired from California Department of Corrections in 2001. Excellent. Yeah, Gary, I'm with you. He says he has no water issues except if you break your own water. What is the most beautiful place you visited in the U.S.? Wow. Most beautiful? Well, Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho comes to mind. The Blue Ridge Parkway in the fall was amazing. And I'm a desert rat. Okay, I love the desert. And so I'm going to have to say that the Sonoran Desert around Tucson in that area is pretty amazing. Um, I love that area down there. And of course, I mean, there's always the big ones like the Grand Canyon. I'm 2.5 hours from Yellowstone Park. There's places in Yellowstone Park that are just jaw dropping. So that's probably a good enough list. But yeah, I think that, if you ask me to say the most beautiful, I'd be hard pressed to say. But I think Yellowstone would be right up there, and maybe the Grand Canyon shortly below that. Let's see here. Next week, TR Aaron. Okay, see you, Camp Goer One. Thanks for joining us tonight. Aaron just shared the roof replacement playlist. Jason Mills, thank you, brother. That is so greatly appreciated. Those super chats, that is, it's really humbling, and I really do appreciate you throwing in the super chat. Um, Thank you very much. I am at a loss for words, which is unusual for me. All right, 9 more minutes. Any more questions? Yeah, that's probably a good point, Ron. What's the most beautiful place you visited in the U.S.? Wherever you are at. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of biased. I think Idaho is pretty beautiful, but every place has its appeal. I thought the Amana Colonies was cool. That's where our the moderator Aaron is a camp host out in Amana Colonies, and the thing you have to keep in mind about the West, I'll wax poetically here for a minute. We got just a minute. The West is young, all right? The West is young. The West, 40s, really is when the first people really started to come west. But you get back to Philly, Boston, all of those places, there is so much history. I mean, in Boston, I watch This Whole House. Okay, who doesn't? They're working on houses from the 1680s, the early 1700s, and it just, you know, that history back there is so amazing. I just, so it's a toss up, but I like Idaho. I'm biased. That's why I keep coming back here. Sam Allen, you are the man. Thank you very much. Uh, so grateful for the love of the super chat, man. I just thank you, thank you, thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Jason, you're awesome. I tell everyone in the RV parks about your show. I've learned so much, and it makes full time, full time, and not so scary. Yeah, full time and can be scary. I mentioned this last week when I was talking about the fire video that I did. Um, when I say fire video, it was 2 years ago in, I guess it was probably late December, early January, that an RV in the RV park that we used to stay at in winter had a fridge catch on fire and basically burned it to the ground. Well, almost. And, that's the thing that scares me is because as a full timer, your life is on your back, literally. You've got everything with you. I recommend that you keep copies of things that are really important in a safe location. Now, when I say full timing and everything is on my back, that's not completely true because I had a storage unit out at near my dad with furniture and a lot of the furniture you see behind me here and some of the tchotchkes that are on the that rack behind me and stuff like that. So I had that stuff stashed, and I kept. I had. I have a safe deposit box that I kept. I keep titles and those sorts of things in. And then, with respect to, because as a YouTuber, I have short beep ton of videos of data, a video that I just can't throw away. I was chatting earlier about being an IT guy, and I have this thing about keeping this data. I have every, well, almost. I've had a couple hard drives fail, and had to do some serious data recovery on them to get back some video. So I don't have everything I've ever shot, but I pretty much have that. And plus, I have about 250,000 images, pictures, and about 60,000 of those are slides that I scanned. And I've got all of that stuff backed up, and then I keep a backup hard drive in my safety deposit box with all my critical, like, family photos and that stuff on it. Pictures of Yellowstone I'm not going to back up in 2 or 3 places. I'm going to have them backed up for convenience. And then, honestly, I'll tell you what, I use Amazon's photo service as a backup, but don't depend on that because they crunch those photos, and so you're not getting back what you give them. You're not getting back the same resolution. Yeah, good point, Sam. We were chatting about that last week. In fact, Aaron, didn't you put a fire suppression system on your fridge? Oh yeah, and you were in the Navy, so you're used to being over there on the Washington Peninsula and up around Bremerton. Aaron, kind of jump around here. Fire suppression for RVs and many other applications. Yeah, they're good. That's a good company. There's another one out there that does that. Synology NAS with about 20 Ts. Yeah, I have about 60 Ts of external USB, and then I have another 30 Ts in a Western Digital NAS. Sam. Worst winds I've dealt with. Had a tornado watch nearby a couple of days ago, and the winds were crazy. Still trying to get used to the RV shaking. I got 2 wind stories, and then we'll get to Ron's question, and then we're going to call it for tonight. I was in Illinois, Chillicothe, Illinois, and in the RV, and they had a really, really, really bad storm roll through. It got so bad that I pulled the slides up, pulled the jacks up, and I didn't pump my airbags up because I have airbags on my RV, right? I didn't pump them up, so I got that RV as close to the ground as I could because it was rocking so bad. And then this would have been 2 years ago. I was driving, headed towards the west here, and Cheyenne to Rock Springs in the RV. If you've ever driven I-80 and you're westbound, you're almost always going to have a headwind, 25, 30 miles an hour. And normally in my rig, I will get 8.2 to 8.5 miles to gallon pretty consistently, provided I'm not driving with the firewall. And on that leg, I got 4.3 miles to gallon, pushing a headwind out on I-80. So yeah, I don't like the wind. When it gets really bad, I would pull my slides in. I would let my jacks down, but I wouldn't pump the airbags up on my chassis, and that get me close to the ground, and it kept the wind from getting underneath you. But you got to keep in mind, you're still 13 feet in the air, 12 feet in the air, and that's a big sail. Ron says he's going to head to Southeast Idaho as soon as we can. It's been a rough year. We even went to a grocery store for the first time in a year. Now ready to move on. Yeah. Of course, Ron, holler at me. We'll get up to Silver Creek and let's do some fishing. I know you're not a big fisherman, but I'm sure Terry would love to go fishing. And we could always drink some vodka and just hang out. Aaron Jemison says he did the Element E50 fire suppression system on his fridge. Craig agrees with me. 80 mile an hour, or I-80, same difference. 80 mile an hour headwind on I-80 is a challenge, and not many fuel stops along the way. Yeah, I have 150 gallons of diesel that I pack on my rig. But, you want to make sure you got got plenty of fuel. and you got, and take regular breaks too, because you'll get fatigued. You know, that day I drove from Cheyenne to Little America, which is a shy 320 miles or something like that. And normally I can go Denver to Pocatello, no sweat at all. I was pretty good about running, 5 to 550 miles when I needed to, with no sweat because my rig just drove nice. All right, we're coming up. Yeah, it's 8:30, so we're gonna call it unless anything really interesting comes in. Yes. Aaron says he went through some 80-mile-an-hour winds. That's pretty wild. Um, Alrighty. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. I thank everybody. Sam and the super chats, stickers are just amazing. I love doing this for you folks. I love trying to help you out. And as always, tell your friends that if they have your RVing friends, if they have questions or they're just can't figure out something that if I don't know it, there's a good chance that one of the old cronies, myself, Craig Carter, when he's here, he's been RVing a while. Sounds like Sam Allen's been RVing a while. I know that Aaron has been going a long time. Gary Boyd, who's older than dirt, but he's been RVing a while. And Larry from out there in Arkansas, he's been rolling down the road a while. So, and if we can't figure that out, then we will look her up. We'll find it for you for sure. Okay. Oh, Dan Phillips, great to have you in tonight. Thanks a lot. And thank you, Mr. Clay 50. All right, let's call her good. So thanks so much for watching. I hope everybody has a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. We'll be back next Tuesday night. Bring your questions, your problems, your comments. And until then, thanks for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Peace. I could have said you're older than rocks, Gary. Thank you, Round Town Scooter. Aaron, yeah, you're the man. Appreciate you, Aaron. Be sure and go over and check out Aaron's channel. And let me find this thing so I can get out of here. Take care, everybody.